A new combustion engine SUV by Kia is the new Kia Seltos, and we're going to take you on an extensive tour, exterior and interior, everything you need to know so far. They have taken their electric design, it's like between EV3 and EV5 size-wise, but now also to a combustion engine model, this new fresh Kia design, exterior and interior, because they say for everyone who cannot have like the proper charging infrastructure, this is then the solution, and we're going to find out how good it is actually here today with Thomas Autogefuehl의 in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go here with the very strong front, and this is the base design from the exterior. There will be the base design, then there will be an X line with more off-roadish accentuations and a GT line with a sportier look. But already the base look here looks pretty striking here, of course, and with the open grille for the radiator, for the combustion engine, and already with silver contrast. So I think that the base looks already look totally fine. Or what do you think about that? Then they have the star map design already from the daytime running light signature. So similar design like their EV models, only that this one is then here with a petrol or later also coming with a hybrid model. And they also want to attack the European market with that, and it's also already quite popular in India, for example. Then here we have 18-inch wheels. 19-inch would actually be the maximum, 16-inch would be the smallest ones, and we have here a length of 4.43 meters or 174 inches, which is, as I said initially, size-wise between the EV3 and the EV5, just that it's not an EV, you know, so yeah, that's is like a EV4 size if it would be an SUV, something like that. But you can see you have this upright SUV building style, that you have a lot of space on the interior and this rather classic rugged look, so to speak. And here it also says 4X, because this one is one of the available all-wheel drive models. There will be two different all-wheel drive systems available. Soon going to talk about that. In the rear also a very strong design with a modern look as well, with the signatures here in the rear, and this also once again the contrast in the lower part and the frost blue exterior color. So I think design-wise it already works very well. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. It is a front wheel based architecture, so most will be front wheel based. There is one all-wheel drive which is here. Let's take a look under the hood. This one is the classic petrol engine, and this one also has some, let's say, more classic all-wheel drive, so front plus rear on demand, but I can always see it right here. There's an e-AWD or 4WD lock button that you can also have it fixed, you know, like this torque distribution. Very interesting. And the alternative would be the hybrid coming up. But first of all, here, this is here the 1.6 liter turbo 4-cylinder engine, 180 horsepower, dual clutch transmission or manual gearbox. And if you go for the North American market, there they have the converter automatic gearbox with a different horsepower output. So it depends then on the market which version you get. For this one you can also get this, let's say, rather classic all-wheel drive. And the North American market also gets, or also some other markets, the 2-liter naturally aspirated engine with a CVT. European market will focus here on the 1.6 liter turbo, and then there will be, based on that, also the hybrid 1.6 4-cylinder hybrid. That one then is either front-wheel drive or can also get an all-wheel drive. Then, however, with an electric all-wheel drive, that means an electric motor at the rear axle, which has, let's say, like a more spontaneous reaction time. That is like the advantage for that. It, you know, all depends. The hybrid model, of course, then will be better as for the consumption figure and so on. So interesting choices. Let's say they have found here a more classic setup, because they say next to their modern EV lineup, they also want to serve customers with different needs. And I think that's also a good decision. And the hybrid then might be something in between if you already want to drive a little bit more efficient. At the same time, maybe you don't have the proper charging infrastructure yet. Then here, the door hands, they come out, otherwise they are flush. And then they are manual actually, and very solid door closing sound, like that, properly done. Then inside, so as I said, this is the base look exterior, and it's also not the special GT line trim or something like that. However, they have put a lot of options in this very vehicle. So you can also go with the base vehicle and then add some options, which is in this case cool to see because then you can see what the car is capable of. Inside of the doors is also soft touch here on the top part. Then classic controls for the windows and so on and for the side mirrors. And I like this unit here at the inside of the doors that you can with one click seat heating, steering wheel heating, seat cooling, and even seat cooling is available here. So that's pretty cool for this segment and also like this price region and this size of a car. Then the steering wheel with a very fresh and rugged look, I feel. And here, these are real buttons at the steering wheel. They also feel pretty nice. Left side cruise control, for example, for the instruments, and then right side for the volume. In the lower part, there you can see the drive mode selector, but also the 4WD lock. Then when you have this classic all-wheel drive, for example, that's pretty cool. Also a leatherette steering wheel, very soft, also underneath, good quality, and also here these high-grade leatherette seats with perforation and also seat cooling, all box ticked. So this is very nicely done. Also, look at that with this special pattern here. And the GT line seats would be a little bit different then again. So indeed, it is like you would enter like a Kia EV5, recently also presented to you, just that it's here then the combustion engine, electric seats. Then also you sit typically upright as for an SUV, comfortable seating position, steering wheel large, up and down, in and out, easy to control. And here for my height, 1A9, 6'2". I also have some headroom left right here, so this is no problem. Yeah, very interesting, this approach here, and maybe a lot of customers have been waiting for exactly that. Optional, by the way, also here the Harman Kardon sound system. And now to the cockpit of the all-new Kia Seltos. Very clean, but at the same time functional because manual volume jog, also here for the temperature, fan speed, everything easy to control also while driving. This here deco element which looks leatherette alike, but this is not too soft here, also rather hard, but the surface materials are actually fine. Then here the glove box is also dampened like this. 3 USB-C chargers here in the lower part. And then you have this inductive charging pad, this with a rubber surface that the phone doesn't fly around, but it's not ventilated. And then here, the base model from the petrol has this classic shifting lever. However, this is like this goodbye sound here. However, if you have a high-spec model or the hybrid model, then you will also have this EV-alike shifting gear selector right here. And I honestly think, yes, this might look a little bit bulky, but for me, this solution is better because then I have no problem with my high knees here, because otherwise this gear selector here is always in the way of my knees. So yeah, it really depends on the version. If that's also a problem to you, then you might have to adapt and pick the right version then for you as for that. Then here in the lower part also engine start stop button in this case and some space. Then here is also the key fob, which has a nice matte surface by the way, and this is a 2-dot adaptive design for the cup holders. This is a little bit softened up for your elbow, some space underneath, 12-volt charging, and you might have already seen this one has, optional, a large panoramic roof. And pretty cool thing is actually that you can, so there we go, that you can still completely open that. And it is really astonishingly large for this segment. And you know, this is not supposed to be a premium SUV or something, you know. And then there's also, oh, this can also close simultaneously. Things that fascinate me in my car life, right? There we go. So this is then the setup when you like want to have the most shade effect. And here the driver POV, once again with these nice real buttons, left and right. This is also then for the cruise control. And these are the digital instruments, 12.3 inch. And also on the right side, the main infotainment system, also 12.3 inch. Usually you would just connect your smartphone, however, because the car internal map is maybe not the most practical. In the middle part, you also have this climate unit, but you would usually just use these classic buttons because yeah, they're fun to use definitely. Now to the rear seats, hard pack here at the rear doors, but you can also get optional seat heating for the rear, for example. That's actually quite fancy, and they use the same fancy seat material for the rear also with this pattern here, so that's beautifully done. ISOFIX at the outside each. Then You have some cup holders which are not adaptive though. You have a ski hatch where you can load through the rear. My arm is gone. So, and then you cannot slide the bench forward or backward, but you can change the inclination here. There's like a side button. You can see it here at Leah's side. So there we go. And then I can make it more cargo room, or I can, whoa, that's like far backward. You see that the Koreans, they have a thing for that the seat goes very far backward, definitely. Yeah, best greetings to all our Korean fans out there, of course. You know that in last December we had the chance to visit Seoul, and that was a cool experience, and everyone was so happy that we were finally visiting. We had so many beautiful comments there. That was really lovely to read. Then you sit very upright, actually, and very high. Look at that, you know. So that might also be good for kids with the Isofix, for example, that they, you know, like low lost in here. Still headroom, you see it is quite high in the rear, yes, but it still exactly fits 189 6'2". But yeah, as you see, unusual high rear bench in the rear here, and you do profit, of course, from this panoramic roof. Legroom when I'm driving in the front, so I still have enough space. I mean, it's not a very long car, but you have these, you know, rather square dimensions. Then these here you can use as jacket hangers, but also maybe to hold on tight when getting in and out, for example. USB-C chargers then here in the rear seats. 540 liters in the trunk or the boot capacity, electric hatch. And let's see what we got here. So I have this cover here, we can remove that first, that you have better visibility. But the here the trolley also fits in underneath, even vertically, it's no problem. And then yeah, sometimes you have to use the force. Young Padawan. And then here we have about 1 meter or 40 inches in width, a little bit more actually, and the normal length is about 90 centimeters, 36 inches. And then here 2/3, 1/3 split, and to these front seats we have a length of 1.70 meter or 67 inches, everything well usable. This is here the better setup to load things through. However, this one you can either store something underneath, there's also a replacement tire underneath, probably also then intended, because this car is also majorly intended for the Indian market. And then here you can also slide this one in the lower position like this. So, and then we also gain more height, and this is then at 80 centimeters or 32 inches. So these are very good dimensions indeed. Indeed. Have you seen? There will be a new Stargate season coming up. Finally, after all these years, this is actually the biggest news of today. And indeed, I hope that Teal'c will make his return. And towing, by the way, 1.3 tons with the petrol, 1 ton with the hybrid model. And now I'm looking forward to your opinion. What do you think about the all-new Kia Seltos, also from this new strategy, getting this EV design now for the combustion engine models? I think it looks pretty stunning. Let's see how much success it will have. And if you want to see a driving review, then remember to subscribe if you haven't done so far, and also tell us in the comments if you want us to drive this car for you very soon. And now check out some competitor SUVs.